So, Dennis, when were you jumping?
1964 through till about probably 1984.
And what was there a highlight in that time?
The World Champs, yeah.
Tell us about, what was your best memory of that?
Probably not for publication, but I met my wife there.
Wow. So you can't actually remember much of the jump? Skydiving perhaps? But...
Oh yes, I still remember a lot. I wasn't that bad, but some would say I was. The whole adventure was magnificent.
And good group of people?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the camaraderie, the fraternity, of all of it is wonderful.
I've got to see Ross.
Jamieson, yeah.
What was, tell me just about when you were jumping?
I started in 1963, 64, a couple of thousand dives.
Why did you start?
I was a pilot and we had a bet in a rugby, in a parachute club or a flying school, and said, would you jump? I said, only if you do, and everybody else said, well, you do, and so I decided I'd jump too. So I did one, came back a couple of months later, did another, and I was hooked for 24 years.
What's the highlight perhaps?
A highlight? Fraternity of people perhaps. But we did the first, a lot of firsts, a lot of 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, first 10-man, first 16. My thrill is the fraternity of people in Skydive. They're wonderful. I hope it keeps going. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get into this lark?
Well, I'll tell you when I make my speech tonight, but back in 1967 I found out about the Manawatu Skydiving Club and I did my first jump in 1968 or something like that. Yeah.
A special time, was a special, best part of it, or scary moments, anything like that?
I have plenty of scary moments. If I was a cat, I'd be dead now because I've used up all my 9 lives. But I've done 3,500 jumps, so a few broken bones to prove it, but that's part of the adventure, part of the adrenaline rush you get out of skydiving. And it's been a very good sport. I've met a lot of neat people, and but I'm over it now.
So, what are you doing? This is a 30-second video, isn't it?
Yes.
So,
Al,
yeah.
How did you get into skydiving?
Skydiving started in Australia and jumped down here in 1971. Started in 71.
Why?
Why? I just saw some guys jumping and thought that's what I wanted to do.
And adventures as a part of that, what would you sort of say was memorable?
A bit of excitement. This is in the 70s. Yeah, if you survived, you did well. So.
Was this the round canopy or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was something special, was it?
What?
Doing the round canopy now compared to, the square ones, that makes it something special.
Well, there's no choice. Yeah. Well, as far as survivability, yeah, no steering really, as such, yeah.
And did that give you a few adventures, did it, or some close shaves?
Yeah, I saw a few other people that didn't do too well. Yeah, so, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Di, I'm doing this on behalf of Bill, so excuse for my ignorance of not knowing.
You've met Harvey?
Yes. Di, how did you get into skydiving?
3 Canadians wanted to learn to do skydiving and they came and asked me where to go. And I didn't know, so I found a place for them and I went with them. And that was it. Started jumping with them.
And it was a long skydiving career, was it?
About 12 years.
Highlights or lowlights or close shaves?
All highlights, and all these people were the greatest highlights.
Whereabouts did you do this?
Started in Canterbury and then Palmerston North, Hastings.
And is there, something special that sticks in your mind from it?
No.
Very good. Thank you, Di. Yeah. Me. Hey. Kevin. And we saw Kevin. How did you get into into skydiving?
Good question. Had a dare with a couple of mates and we give it a go. Yep, just
Over a couple of beers or something?
no, we had a dare. Who would do it and who wouldn't do it? So a whole bunch of us took it on. Yep.
And you obviously liked it.
Well, it was a long time ago, 74, 75. Yep. Did it for 10 or 15 years. Hey, Gyro. We're in the middle of an interview.
Whereabouts did you do this?
Started in Palmerston North and then went to Hawke's Bay, jumped in Taupo, jumped in Wellington, live in all around the lower half of North Island. And then we went to Papua New Guinea and did a fair bit of jumping in Papua New Guinea with one of the other skydivers, Hoff. Had a ball. Yep.
So was it that's the travelling or what's the highlight of it perhaps?
Adrenaline. It's adrenaline for all skydivers, I think.
Can you compare it to anything else?
Sort of like scuba diving, but skydiving is a hell of a lot better. Yeah.
Excellent, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Stephen, are you a skydiver, are you?
I am, I still am.
You still are?
I still
Excuse
am.
me, can I just interrupt? No. So how did you get into this caper?
A friend of mine in Rotorua heard an ad on the radio and shouted me $60 to do a jump at Sulphur City. And then the skydiving was going down there, so I moved to Wellington in 1981.
So what sort of gets you hooked?
Oh, it's got to be the dopamine. No, just I guess the family hook, everybody having a good time, and it's a good sport. It's different.
So what's highlights during your time?
6th of the 85 World Meet in Yugoslavia, beating the Australians at their own nationals in 86, and a couple of other bits and pieces, lots of little jumps and good parties, which I won't tell you too much about. Those that know.
Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Perry.
Excuse me, Mike.
G'day,
I'm doing
mate.
this on behalf of Bill Ashworth.
Yes.
And I'm getting everyone to just, excuse me, a quick comment. How did you get into this, or why, or?
How did we get into it? I think one night in 1973 or 74 we were watching the World at War TV series. And I think the second or third episode featured D-Day. There were lots of guys jumping out of Dax into occupied France, and we thought that looked like it'd be fun provided you weren't being shot at. So half a dozen of us went looking for skydiving clubs, the Yellow Pages, tracked Vince Sussmilch down, and rest is history.
In that time, did you have some highlights, lowlights, close shaves, anything like that, or?
Yeah, a few close shaves. Close shaves. They were all close shaves, the first 100 or so jumps, yeah. But,
I'm not a skydiver, so what's that, you just sort of hoping that everything works, or hard landings, or what?
being a bit blasé about packing and not keeping track of altitude and jumping hungover and jumping hammered and pissed and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Good though, obviously.
Oh, great fun. It was before mountain bikes and Sky TV and cell phones and video games were introduced, so it was pretty much the most exciting thing on offer, wasn't it?
True. Thanks, Mike. No worries. Ted, just a video there. So Ted, how did you get into this?
I was good friends with a guy called TJ Benton, who will be here tonight somewhere, and he was jumping. I had plenty of money at the time and no wife, so I decided to distribute my funds somewhere else, and I jumped from about late 74 till 79 when I disappeared overseas and started working away. And the last jump I did was when we returned to New Zealand about 1985.
So in that time, is there a special period or, special places or highlights?
Oh yeah, it's when I beat Bill Ashworth in 1976. I beat Bill Ashworth on my 100th jump and the accuracy.
Oh, did that go down well, did it?
Well, it did. Sort of.
Excellent. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you,
Have a good night. Excuse me, Wayne, are you a jumper?
Yeah, I'm a jumper.
Good. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just asking some people, how'd you get into winning, how'd you get into this?
1978, 2 older brothers jumping, so I thought I'd better do it as well.
Whereabouts was that?
First jump was actually in the Manawatu. Then I did some in Wellington in 78, 79. And then, with my flying, probably a few hundred in Nelson, and then moved to Auckland, and etc., etc.
There seemed to be a lot around the Manawatu, Palmerston North.
Yeah, I think back in those days, Wellington was sort of the centre, and in Nelson we were an adjunct to that. And then what happened was it then moved out to Nelson, Marlborough, Manawatu. And then, then Wellington atrophied a little as the Manawatu grew, Nelson grew, etc.
And sort of memorable moments in there, close shaves or anything? Or?
Quite a few. I don't know, out of a couple of thousand jumps, yeah, there's been a few.
Yeah, highlights, you know?
Highlight jumps, actually, with this guy, we jumped from one year to another year. Remember night jumps? Remember those night jumps in Nelson? We got out at 1 minute to midnight, and in free fall, we went from one year to the next year and then landed. So we took off 1 year and landed.
Those glow sticks.
All those glow sticks and stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Graeme, I recognise that name because I'm from Nelson, the Moffats. So what's your involvement? What were you?
Oh, shit, I started in...
Oh, you're not from Nelson?
Well, I was. But I started in Wellington. And I was flying the Wellington Divers.
Oh, okay.
In about 1974, I suppose, 73, 74.
Oh, you're a pilot? Ah. So what's it like sort of taking these guys and...
Oh, they're bloody terrible. They're terrible. Can't control them.
In what way? I mean, is it...
No, it's actually
in danger or anything, are you? Or?
No, it's actually... Wayne was really good. Because when you're bloody doing your final running, some of the guys in the back didn't have a clue where they were bloody heading. And I could actually spot far better than most of the guys could. But Wayne was pretty good.
Are you...
No, I'm flying 2 jumps.
Oh, you
pushed her out the bloody plane.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about those.
Oh, my husband pushed me out of the plane, and I had to do it. It was a test whether he'd marry me or not.
So well, you couldn't get married unless you'd been a skydiver?
Exactly. Typical skydiver.
Why only 2? Is it a bit scary, is it?
It is, but we had sort of kids after that, got married, had kids, and went overseas, so yeah. Now I'm really scared.
Thank you. Are you a skydiver?
No.
You're not?
No, he is.
Well, how come you got a name tag on?
How did that get there?
He's an old skydiver, but not very good at it. Show him your scars, Greg.
So what was your career as a skydiver then?
I had every malfunction that was possible.
Tell us about one of those, a special one of those.
Okay, had a streamer and threw the reserve out and it got caught around the ripcord. So I had 2 canopies that didn't work. Go figure that one.
But you're still here?
Yeah, well, I thought I was coming down a bit fast, so I grabbed the back risers to prepare for landing and everything cleared.
How long was it before you went back up again?
Next week.
Oh, okay. Man.
And I've had someone go through my canopy in free fall when I was open. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, that's skydiving.
And so what years are these?
Oh, you'd have to ask Shan.
Oh, okay.
He was on the jump.
Greg, thank you very much.
No worries.
Oh, excuse me. You are? Oh, excuse me. I'm doing this on behalf of Bill Ashworth. So, Kerry, where did you start and get into this?
Gisborne.
Oh, what was the club like there?
It was good. It was social. It was just based on the local airfield, and the pilots were the air traffic controllers who did the loads between bringing planes in.
So why did you get into this?
I was flying, and it seemed like a fun thing to do.
Was it a long skydiving career? Or?
No, it wasn't a long skydiving career. It was about 10 years.
Oh, that's long enough.
Oh,
so what did you get involved in? Memorable moments? Do you travel or, what's the...
jumped in Hawke's Bay, jumped in Wellington. With the Wellington crowd, we moved around a bit, did some jumps in Australia and some jumps in America. Was about it.
So what, the travelling, meeting people, what's the...
It was the jumps. It was a really fun crowd. It was pre-commercial. It was all club jumping. It was fun. They were fun times. And then it got commercial and the atmosphere changed. And I moved on.
Thank you, Kerry. Okay. Sorry. I'll just get that on. I'll just get your name so that when the person...
You just want my tits.
Yeah, that'll be it. So tell me about your career. How did you get into this?
I started skydiving in 1969 and I did my last jump in Germany in 1974. I think it was about then anyway, and took up boating.
Oh, so where was 69 and why did you do your first jump?
Why did I do my first jump? I was very depressed at the time through circumstances and I needed a diversion and I couldn't think of anything sillier to divert myself than jumping out of an airplane.
Whereabouts was that?
What was my first jump? APC.
Oh, okay. So a long career, and you said you finished in Germany, did you?
So I jumped in Germany in 1974. Not a very long career. I never jumped a square parachute, only round ones. And I never had a malfunction, but I did have the plane malfunction one day, and it was Dennis Musson's. I blame him entirely.
And so, were you in Germany? Is that the World Championship?
No, nothing so grand, just touring.
Oh, okay.
With my husband Warwick Underwood, that people would remember, Warwick Underpants.
Very good. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian, I might as well get you, get you out of the way early.
Okay, what am I going to say to you?
Oh, well, I know why, how, when, where did you get into this?
How did I get into this? Actually, in Auckland, I had a mate of mine at university, and he was they started this university, Auckland University skydiving. Well, it was a bit of a fringe thing anyway. It was doing it in conjunction with Hauraki skydivers. So that he told me, wow, So I thought, if he can do it, I can do it. So there we go. That's how I started. So Warwick Underwood was my instructor, and the guy just over here, this guy over here called Ross Jamieson, that guy there, he put me out on my first freefall. And he told me last night he didn't know whether I was up to it. So there we go.
So how do you get into this? I don't imagine people had a lot of money and all the gear and everything. Yeah. Well, how did that all work out?
The gear back then, when I started here in 1970, it was the start of the sports stuff, security parachute company. I remember the PCs and stuff like that, but I was the cheapo thing, so it was cheap to buy a second-hand set. I remember I got Warwick Underwood to vet a set of gear for me, and I think it was $125 or something. So that was sort of your first step. Pretty basic stuff. Like these days, junk in terms of what people can do today. So yeah.
And a highlight in the career?
Highlights, gosh. I think going to the World Meets, they were good fun overseas. Actually, one highlight was jumping out of this Nord Atlas in France. First jump in cloud. That was scary. We came out the bottom and broke through the cloud. I remember, that was sort of kind of a highlight, kind of something different. Yeah, there we go. That's about it. Thanks,
Brian. Stuart. Sorry.
Hello.
I'm just doing this on behalf of Bill Ashworth. Just ask a couple of quick questions of everyone, if that's okay.
Sure, go for it.
So when and how you get involved and why?
Oh, well, I started in 1979. And I moved up from here from Nelson because my sister Rose Bean was living here, and that's how it started. I moved up here to work, and that was just a way of getting into social groups, and ended up learning how to skydive.
I'm from Nelson, and I lived up on Te Hunanui Hills, and so we used to always watch on the Saturday and Sunday afternoon the skydiving there. Was Nelson quite a big?
Yeah, and Nelson was one of the major clubs. In the early 80s. It died about the mid-90s. Where did you live in Nelson?
Toswell Road.
Yeah, well, we lived in Moana Avenue, so we were just around the corner from you.
Yeah. So what was some highlights of your career?
highlights of my career. Well, my 100th jump, I was at the Thai Happy Turkey meet, and I did a jump, and we didn't have really fancy parachutes in those days, and I had a cutaway and landed my reserve on a paddock right next to a helicopter that was still running, so that was interesting. I've done a lot of years of, I've got a drop zone, so I've done a lot of years of skydiving. I had a guy about 6 years ago who had a heart attack in freefall on an AFF jump and died in freefall, so that was pretty exciting sort of stuff. All sorts of things.
Excellent, thank you, Stuart.
All right.
Steve Smith. So Steve, tell us about your career, how that started and why.
Well, funnily enough, it was Wellington Skydiving Club had a pretty big part to do with it. I think 72 in Canterbury, came here 74, studying engineering at the time, and these guys at Wellington Skydiving Club were incredibly helpful to me. They were mentors, and they took me under their arm a little bit, and I spent probably 4 years of the most formative and memorable times in my skydiving life, I guess. And I'm so happy to be back tonight.
So what is it about it all? You know, why is it such a group to have?
Well, my whole life probably has been skydiving, and I'm involved in the industry, and therefore I guess part of my memory and part of the reason that I took up, I guess, a career in skydiving is because I had so much enjoyment, and that enjoyment relates back to this club and people that I've known probably throughout New Zealand and until I die, I guess, in some ways.
Memorable jumps, places, anything like that?
Well, obviously, to me, the people that I remember more than the places that we went to, Bill Ashworth, Vince Sussmulch, Ian Drinkwater, Brian Shanahan, people of that era were sky gods to me when I was, I guess, just an unnoticeable little guy, and they looked after me. So to me, not the events, but the people really that I remember more than anything. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Mac. So Mac, how were you? What's your skydiving career? Tell me about that.
I came out from England in '88 for a holiday. Haven't been home yet.
Who got you into this then?
Basically Bigfoot. I came out with a whole bunch of qualifications and it kind of fit with the club's thing. So I just sort of, I suppose, ran the drop zone for the club to use for 10 or 12 years. Not in Marston, so yeah. And, memorable sort of... Oh yeah, we did first ever Trandom in the Southern Hemisphere. We held the Nationals for 2 years running. They were quite good, well represented. Yeah, good bunch of buggers, eh? They made me very welcome.
Great. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nothing, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Joy, how long have you been in skydiving and why did you get into that?
November, because I needed a good rush.
Oh, just November?
November, yeah. So I'm in the AFF with Marty, and Hudson was as well helping him out.
And so what's been what's been the best part of that? What have you...
The people, definitely the people. No, it's been amazing.
Excellent. That'll do me.